Hello, and welcome to the Mastering Number Reception and Key Stage 1 programme. My name is Debbie Morgan, and I'm Director for Primary at the NCTM. So what we're going to look at this afternoon are the aims of the programme, what it is we're trying to achieve through it, how this programme might be a little bit different from how you commonly teach mathematics at the moment, and the key strategies that are used to enhance the effectiveness of the programme, and also about how you embed this within your school in order to develop sustainable and positive change. So the aim of the programme are to develop fluency in number facts, such that number facts can be recalled with automaticity, that when you say to a child, what's 5 plus 3, they immediately say 8, without having to go 5, 6, 7, 8. But alongside that development of automaticity is the development of good number sense. And by that we mean a flexibility and confidence with number that employs mathematical structures and sees relationships and develops effectiveness. So fluency and number facts and number sense are the two key strands within this programme. Identify a child like this in your school. For some children, mathematics just comes. They succeed easily, whilst others seem doomed to failure. They struggle. Things are hard. And in fact, those who fail are doing a more difficult form of mathematics, particularly when it comes to calculation. They have very limited strategies, and their main strategy is just to count. Whilst others progress and have flexibility and powerful strategies that actually make the mathematics easier. So they're not counting, and the counting isn't getting in the way of them thinking about the mathematics they are engaged in. So the answer is don't count. And the programme will definitely encourage children and indeed develop children who are not counters when it comes to calculation. Added to that, the research that says that an over-reliance on counting actually restrains flexible thinking. And many children do leave Key Stage 1 currently without the fluency in additive number facts within 10. And instead they do rely on that counting, the counting on strategy, for example. Gray also points out that this over-reliance on lengthy counting procedures, it limits children's attention to those numerical relationships, looking for those connections, finding easier and shorter ways in order to calculate. And it restrains that flexible thinking and the development of concept-based problem solving. So it gets in the way of problem solving. So counting is associated with low attainment. Those children who are failing at Key Stage 3, very often their primary or only strategy to calculate is to count. And it restrains, not only does it make calculation ineffective, but it also restrains that higher level and flexible thinking. The good news is that low attaining children, they can develop that flexibility and have more effective strategies. They can think about mathematical relationships and indeed think mathematically. And here's just a quote from Karas Rusina's research. She quotes Anne Watson, who in her research argues that low attaining children can think mathematically, and we can make a shift in the way they think about mathematics. And that's down to the teaching and the pedagogy which we use. It's not ingrained in the children. They aren't born to be just counters, but they all have the ability, and the programme is seeking to draw out the ability to think mathematically and develop flexibility and confidence in calculation. So the good news is low attainers can develop the kind of thinking associated with higher attainment in mathematics through explicit teaching. And what's more, that makes the mathematics easier for them and allows them to access that higher level thinking. So automaticity in facts is important. It's critical to solving problems and more complex problems in particular. So because automaticity with facts, it relieves the overload and indeed, as I said, supports the problem solving process. So let's think about specifically the Mastery Number program. How is it different? The big thing is differentiation. The answer is there is no differentiation. The aim is not to provide different experiences for different children, because all children need to develop their automaticity with those additive, those addition and subtraction facts, and they all need to develop number sense that considers relationships between numbers and understands how they work and empowers them to be in control of their calculation strategies that they use. It also develops a mathematical mindset where we haven't got differentiation. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm not very good at maths. I'm on the bottom table for maths. Children soon pick up on that and they know. So it actually empowers and gives all children confidence that they all can succeed. Practice, of course, is very important. And if you've read the latest Ofsted report, you'll see that they're identifying that is sometimes insufficient practice that is restraining children from making better progress. The materials do, however, for some children who still seem to be lagging a bit behind, provide suggestions for follow-up activities to ensure that they keep pace with the rest of the class. And the reception materials in particular make suggestions for small group work. There's no requirement for the short 10 to 15 minute whole class input to be followed up by small group work for every child. The small group work, you don't have enough time for that for a start, but the small group work is targeted at those children who really need that support in order to keep up and succeed. And they also contain suggestions for continuous provision and the environment to enhance the environment with mathematical activities. One of the things about reception is that we know that play is really important, and indeed it is. But some argue that if we're spending time on direct teaching, then maybe it's taken away from play. But actually, the research says that actually it enhances the play. Children think more mathematically and their play is richer for it. So the two things go hand in hand. And indeed, we suggest play activities that can give children time to embed mathematics across there. So I've just said no differentiation. Oh, what will Ofsted think about that? Well, you're probably aware that Ofsted brought out a report just before the summer, and we were delighted to see their praise from what they'd seen in school and the impact they'd seen in school from the Mastery Number program. It talks about the NCTM's Mastery Number program as being particularly helpful in schools that were successful, and they gave lots of praise to that. And it identifies some features of the program, such as subitizing, which is recognizing numbers without counting, understanding numerical concepts, being able to recall addition facts, and they pulled out key features of the program, such as whole class teaching, use of the Rec and Rec, low distraction materials, clear diagrams and representations, regular questions, and videos for staff training, the professional development for staff as well. Other things they said in the report about Mastery Number talks about the call responses, and I'll talk a little bit more about STEM sentences in a few minutes. They talked about low stakes practice, and indeed we provide retrieval materials to give children that practice. And they noticed that the approach was more inclusive, helping all children, including those with SEND. And indeed, they made a distinct recommendation that says that offering the Mastery Number program to all schools as an example of good practice in early mathematics. So I must say the program is becoming more and more popular year on year, and in fact we did turn some people away. So welcome to the program. You did get a place, and we hope you make the most of it. Let's think about particularly the Rec and Rec. Hopefully you've received your Rec and Recs by now. If you haven't, they are well on their way to you. So let's think of a Rec and Rec of making 14. Which image is best? With our 2 rows, our 10 on each row. What would we expect 14 to look like? I wonder if you might choose the first one, let's call that A, the second one B, or the third one C. Well, it depends. It isn't a free-for-all. Oh, any way you make 14 is absolutely fine, and you make it your own way and think about it in that way. One of the differences about Mastering Number is that all children focus on the same mathematical structure that is the intention for that particular session at the time. So they all achieve the learning outcome. So if the learning outcome was to understand the 14 within the 10 and a bit structure, i.e. 14 is 10 and 4 more, then we would expect to see the first representation up there. And you might say, well, the second one also has 10 and 4 more. But the thing about 14 is that when we write it, although we say the 4 first, it's the 10 that we write first. So seeing the 10 first and then the bit, the 4, is how we'd want all children to display it. And if children were not displaying it that way, then we'd ask them to correct, look at the partner to see what it is, and then draw out the 10 and a bit structure from it. Whereas if we were working with doubles and we wanted to make double 7, then we'd use the bottom one, and everybody would make 14 like that with a double 7. And in particular, this image draws out that 14 is double 5 and double 2. So double 7 is makes 14, which is the double 5 makes 10, and then the 4 more, which makes our 14 there. So all children need to attend to that same structure in the moment. That's where we often lose children. They're thinking about something completely different, or lots of people have displayed 14 in lots of different ways, and they think, well, okay, I'm just going to stick with my way. And so they're just general overload. So there's clarity within the structure so that all children see that same structure and make the same progress. A visualization and gesture is important, and we do use what's called the Hungarian number pattern, and basically Hungarian number pattern works on subitizing dots like this using dice patterns. So here we can see the 5, but not only can we see the 5, we can also see that the composition of 5 is 4 and 1 more. Just by changing the color, we can see that inside 5, there's not only 5, but there's also a 4 and a 1. Interestingly, visualization is something that we started to use initially on the program and then realized how impactful it was, and have actually strengthened it in the recent iteration of the program. And being able to just visualize, instantly see that 5, and indeed being able to close your eyes and see the 5 is something that we develop and have that as a core element of a way of seeing 5. So back to the Rec and Rec again. We're drawing attention. So what do you see now? Well, here we see the 5 and 1 more. Yes, we see 6, but we see it as 5 and 1 more. And the 5 and a bit structure is something that we really draw out, and it's important for children's calculation and ways of seeing number. And here we see on a reckon rec, on our reckon rec, we do 1 push 5, and we don't count out the 5 Bs and then push. We see the 5. We're being asked to show 6. We see the 5 and 1 more. Put our finger on the correct bead and 1 push going across. Our number block friends also appear in the program, and we're thankful to number blocks for allowing us to use the images. So here we've got 7, and 7 says, "Find the 5 in me." And you might be thinking, or children might be thinking, "What do you mean 5? You're 7. You're not 5." But let's just have a look. And of course, inside 7, there is a 5 and there's also a 2. So this composition of number is really strong. And it's really, and we then draw out that structure through what we call a stem sentence, where we say 7 is a whole, 5 is a part, and 2 is a part. And we all say that together. That's that call response that Ofsted were referring to previously, which embeds what we're seeing on the screen and embeds that structure of the mathematics. And we're learning that one of the number bonds within 7 is 5 and 2. 5 and 2 make 7. Of course they do, because inside 7 there is a 5 and a 2. So that 5 and a bit structure is being drawn out. We'll also ask children to show that 7 on their fingers, so that we're seeing the 5 and the 2. And we can automatically see our fingers automatically partition that 5 and a bit structure for us and help us to see the 5 and the 2 more there. 8 has come along now. 8 says, "Find the 5 in me." Well, we're not going to get caught out this time, are we? Of course there's a 5 in 8. And what's the other number that goes with 5 to make 8? That must be 3. Let's see if we're correct. And here we go. Indeed, 8 is a whole, 5 is a part, and 3 is a part. So we know that 5 and 3 is equal to 8. I'm now going to show you a video of a teacher who's been using the programme with a reception class so that we can listen and reflect on her experiences. Here we go.
Okay, today we are thinking all about the number 6. Can you show me the number 6?
My experience of the Mastering Number programme has been a really positive one. I think the difference it's made to the children is the fact that all of the children are coming along at the same pace. They all feel really confident in their use of number, and I think that's been helped by, for example, the training that I've had on my use of gesture and using our hands and our fingers.
Adriano knew that 5 and 1 is the same as
6.
Can we all say that? 5 and 1 is the same as 6.
We use stem sentences a lot, and the children they know all of the stem sentences and they love sharing them with me. So as soon as I say, how do we know that this shows me 5? The children all repeat really excitedly, "We know there are 5
fingers on my hand."
And they love it and they're enthusiastic and they're excited.
Ready with your thumbs? Is it 6 or not 6?
6.
Okay, I want you to tell your partner how you know.
One of the things they really love is talking to their talk partner. So it gives them a chance to rehearse what they're going to say. It gives their partner a chance to challenge what they say, whether they agree or disagree. And we've really tried to get the children listening to one another, not just one person talking and then the other person talking.
What was the number that we saw on the screen? 4. Can you all show me 4? Gigi, how did you know?
2 at the top and 2 at the bottom.
There are 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And how many does that make altogether, Gigi?
4.
Okay, can we say a sentence about that then, everybody? Can you show me 2 and another 2? So start with your 4. So we've got 4 is made of 2 and 2, and double 2 is 4. Can you put your fingers together to prove to me that that's a double? Have your fingers got a partner?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our double number.
When we first started the programme, I think we were initially a little bit sceptical about it, because we found from some of our baseline assessments that our children had come up with quite a strong baseline, and the programme was going quite slowly initially. But now we're reaping the benefits of that, because that's when it brought along all of the other children, got them all to a very similar level, and now they've got such a good underpinning of maths now to take forward with them. Their ability to subitize and their composition of number is all really strong now, and I think I can see how that is then going to help them as they move into Key Stage 1.
Sabotizing is what looking at a number and then not counting it and they know the number.
Reception class, you've just heard Zoe, the teacher there. Some of the things I particularly like to draw out is how she said, at first we thought, gosh, this is going really slowly, and we had lots of teachers saying that to us, and we just said, well, just trust us, just keep going with it, and you will probably experience this. And then by the end of the year, they were saying, oh, we can see why it went slowly. They've got a much deeper understanding, a much deeper automaticity with number at the end of the year, and not only for some children, but for all children. So that's a really key approach that we're taking. So if you feel it's going slowly, don't try to rush on, because actually your children will benefit more by continuing to go slowly. So in reception, the programme covers a large proportion of the new early years framework. It covers all of the early learning goals. It doesn't cover the geometry and measures, shape and space aspects of the curriculum, so you will need to fit those in as well. But reception teachers are saying that they've found the programme for number to be sufficient for reception. It'll provide that progression. It's a very, very structured programme, a very structured, connected learning trajectory, which we know is effective for learning. So it will provide that, as I said, suggestions for continuous provision of small group work, and it will exemplify good early years practice. A strong feature of the programme is inclusion. Let's think about how we might support inclusion. Might we ensure that children are included through having an open approach, which allows for lots of responses? Or is it B, we plan different questions and target them at different children? For our higher attainers, we have some. For our lower attainers, we have others. So we ensure that all children have questions and things to think about. Or is it C, where the attention of all is focused on the one mathematical relationship, and that relationship is made accessible to all with distractions removed? Well, the approach taken in the programme is in fact C. All are learning together, distractions are removed, and the teacher is ensuring that all are thinking in a way that's going to enable them all to make good progress. And the adage is, we are slowing down in order to go fast, keeping all children with us, enabling all children to think deeply and make good progress. So now let's turn our attention to developing that sustainable change within your school. So we would recommend the EEF support for implementation, and it has 4 phases. The first phase is to prepare and explore. What have you already tried? What are you seeking to achieve? What are your school priorities at the moment, and how does the programme fit into that? Consider your current provision. Do you need to make any adaptations? For example, we're introducing a brand new resource in the form of the Rec and Rec. Is that going to be a key resource used both within Mastery Number and in your main lesson? Will you use it instead of another resource so as not to overload? These are things to consider. How will you ensure that all of your staff have a vision? Are the Year 3 teachers prepared for Year 2 children coming up to them next year, and being aware of what they learn and what the expectations should be in terms of calculation and using their automaticity and the facts that they've developed? Have you thought about your timetabling? When and how the mastery number will fit in? We do recommend that the mastery number is a discrete program at a separate point. I say it's a discrete program. Of course, we want the features and the automaticity and the number sets to feed into your main lesson. But actually, it's better done as a separate session than just added on as an all elemental starter, for example, to the main lesson, and have it at a different time. If you cannot fit in an additional 10 to 15 minutes per day, then we would recommend that you shorten, rather than abandon the program, that you shorten the main maths lesson. We know from experience that actually it will have far more impact by shortening the main maths lesson rather than not doing it because you can't fit it in. The main maths lesson becomes more focused, and this additional session supports children's mathematical development alongside that main lesson. So think about your timetabling. As you engage, develop delivery, critically reflect. Use the online community to do that. See what other schools are finding within that. Is it at the right time of the day? Do you need to adapt those things? And then as you come to the end of the year, how are you going to embed? Are there any tweaks or adaptations, for example, to where you fit the program in? And how will you sustain and refine that? The program isn't just for this year, it is for next year and the year after, and as a permanent element to your mathematics curriculum. So it's well worth, particularly senior leaders here, thinking about that, about how the implementation is going to be successful in your school. So let's think about maximizing the impact in your school. Fidelity to the program is number one. Are you using it in the way that it was intended? Are you giving sufficient time for it? Are you using the retrieval materials to follow up for it, etc.? We know that schools that demonstrated fidelity to the program, it had a far greater impact. So take time to embed the program. So you may get into it. You may have gone a few weeks along and think, oh, I've got hold of it now. I know what I'm doing. I didn't really on the first couple of weeks. You just may want to pause and just go back and redo a couple of weeks that maybe you think didn't go so well. The timing of the program does allow you to do that. And it's better to go back and take your time than it is just to race on and not build those foundations that children very much need. The PD is really important, and I would say that the professional development is more important to effectiveness than the materials themselves. The PD will allow teachers to use the materials effectively. So there's the NCTM live sessions. Although you're nominating one teacher to attend those per year group, you can, if you can release a teacher, and you're only releasing each teacher for just under an hour each time, once each term. So we would ask if you've got more than one teacher attending a session that they are on the same computer. We just need to manage our Zoom license and the number of people that we are allowed. But you can have as many around the computer as you want, and indeed the subject leader might want to join as well. In the same way, do access the local sessions every term. Again, there will be a local session which will look at the materials together and provide professional development for effective delivery and use of those materials. Do interact with the online community. That is really important. You're all using the same materials, so it's a great opportunity to think, in week 3, session 4, how did other people get on? Because I really struggle with that session. Or you might want to share things that have been successful. I hadn't realised this, but you know what little Tommy said to me today? I was amazed that he'd picked that up. So do share successes and challenges and support each other. And indeed, your work group lead, your Maths Hub lead is a real expert in the programme. So do draw on their expertise. They will be seeking to interact with you in the online community. And for this year, we're also introducing 2 support sessions, one in the autumn term, one in the summer term, for subject leaders and head teachers. And this will really support you in monitoring, evaluating, supporting teachers and getting the most out of the programme in your school. It will provide some additional materials and ideas also for embedding the impact. So do access those. So just as we draw to the ends, so in conclusion, let's have a think about some key things. So you've been asked to nominate a lead teacher, and they will have access to Access and be able to download the materials and share with others. Your lead teacher is a requirement that they attend the live professional development. But if, as I said earlier, if you can release the other teacher or teachers, then please do so, or the teaching assistant. You can have as many staff as you like, as long as they're just round one computer. So do, senior leaders do facilitate teachers working together to plan for the programme, and particularly if there's only one attending the live training, that they are able to share and plan with the other teachers. Don't forget about the subject leader and head teacher session, and make sure that your school is represented there. And also think about where the programme fits into your development plan, and do monitor it, and we'll support you with that to ensure you maximise its impact. So just in conclusion, the materials are protected and only available to schools on the programme, so please don't share them. The reason for that is that actually the professional development that goes alongside it is absolutely key for them to be effective. Engagement will be monitored, so please, when you log into your Zoom call, please do write the name of your school. We will use that as a register. You will have been sent information about evaluation. We'd all like you to take part in that, and details and a video that goes with it will be sent, and you'll be asked to engage in that assessment at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. And so please do the assessment with your chosen children before you start delivering the programme. And as I say, put your name on the Zoom link. And so just to end, just to say a huge thank you. We're just so excited to be working with you. We're now very confident that we have a very effective and high quality programme, and we're looking forward to hearing how it goes in your school and the impact it's having. So I wish you the very best, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.